The U.S. Supreme Court has just ruled against Donald Trump's order to limit birthright citizenship. The move had been one of the top priorities in his immigration crackdown. A lower court had previously blocked an executive order which directed U.S. agencies not to recognize the citizenship of children born in the United States if neither parent is a U.S. citizen or legal resident. The landmark ruling upholds 150 years of precedent. The court, however, upheld a transgender sports ban ruling, with Trump hailing that as a big win. We can now bring in our international affairs editor, Angela DIffley. Angela, let's talk about this birthright citizenship being upheld. 150 years of precedent, a landmark ruling and one against the U.S. president.
Yeah, it's a big setback for Donald Trump. This was one of his top priorities, this executive order signed on the very first day in office. It will be very interesting to see his reaction. I'm surprised we haven't yet had something on Truth Social from Trump and some of his MAGA supporters too. It would have been a priority for them. It's not quite clear exactly who voted in which direction on this Supreme Court. Of course, it is a Conservative majority Supreme Court, 6-3. We don't have the exact details of who voted in which direction. One of the more senior or the longest standing judges, Clarence Thomas, a black judge, was thought to be more in line with Trump beforehand. It'll be interesting to see how he voted. Of course, the first time this was at the court in April, Donald Trump became the very first sitting U.S. president to sit in the Supreme Court to listen to the arguments and some of the dissensions and opinions that came out from that, although he left early.
From what I understand, it was the three liberal justices, including the Chief Justice, Amy Barrett Cohen, and Brett Kavanaugh, two Trump-appointed justices who voted to uphold the birthright citizenship. So clearly Donald Trump will not be very happy with his appointees and the country's Chief Justice going against him with this decision. But Donald Trump has been celebrating another ruling. He calls it a big win. This is, of course, the Supreme Court upholding the transgender sports case. What is that about?
Yes, this was a challenge brought by two transgender athletes in two states, in West Virginia and in Idaho. Both of those states had bans on people who were not recorded at birth, their sex recorded as female. They were not to be allowed to compete in women or girls' sports. And these two transgender athletes took their cases to the Supreme Court in class actions. In lower courts, in both cases, the lower courts had sided with the two athletes, in one case saying that the ban violated federal law, in another case saying that the ban violated the Constitution. This time, at the Supreme Court, the ban by these two states has been upheld. And that has implications because there are about 25 other states in a similar situation. And so that will be very important for them as well. Donald Trump, when he signed this order again in that first week in office, framing it as being about women and girls being able to compete in safe and fair competition. Very many women and girls would agree with that. A leading spokesman for transgender people said it's nothing to do with that. It's just targeting transgender people to discriminate against them. So that's where we are on that one. The first one we were talking about, the birthright citizenship, it is worth noting, this is extremely important, that the judges made their decision on the basis of whether or not it was against the US Constitution, and they said firmly that it was. And that means that that's a much more solid ruling. It's unlikely to be challenged again.
Based on what the Chief Justice John Roberts has written, he said children born in the United States to parents unlawfully or temporarily present are subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and are citizens at birth under the 14th Amendment Citizenship Clause. So it seems that he's drawn a line in the sand, and that is that.
It is in the Constitution. Constitution. There is no other interpretation, they say, and therefore it will not be challenged again very quickly. That makes it a much, much more solid ruling. It'll be very interesting to see how Trump reacts. He might well welcome the fact and say again, look at the courts trying to obstruct what I am trying to deliver. We will wait to see.